Hello everyone and welcome to the AK region of EGFH for Season 3 of Overwatch. Today, we have a best of 4 series between the Redington Huskies and the Colony Knights. I of course want to thank our sponsors, Mob Crush, and our wonderful new sponsor, Playmakers Wanted, for making this season possible. My name is Kevin Navik Dignan, and today I'm joined by Gorka. How are you doing, Gorka?
I'm doing great, Navik. Honestly, it's a nice evening for some quality Overwatch, I believe. This week, we're going to start with Escort, and then we're going to go to a Control map, an Assault map, and then a Hybrid. If the scoreline is tied after the maps, we will have a tiebreaker on Escort. This week, the map order is Junkertown, Busan, Volskaya Industries, Numbani, and a tiebreaker on Rialto. So yeah, and looking at both teams, it's going to be a pretty tough game for the Huskies. Just looking at the standings right now, the Knights are #1 in the league with 12 points, 4 wins to 0 losses, while the Redington Huskies are currently at a 1-1 win-loss ratio, since they've only really had a chance to play 2 games. So yeah, Navik, you have any idea if the underdogs will have a really good chance?
I've had the joy over the last couple of weeks to cast the Colony Knights when they have been on stage, and I definitely think from what we've seen so far of the Knights, the Huskies are the underdog, if you will, in this matchup currently. So I personally would be very much so enthralled to see an upset coming out. And we do see a GOATS-like composition with Bastion.
Yeah, this is very interesting coming out from the Huskies. They are running the GOATS with a Bastion to help out, and Bridge along with Zenyatta there, so it's gonna be interesting to see. I really want to see how they play with that Bastion. The Junkertown is a map in which the escort payload starts very close to the doors, so obviously the offensive team have basically given like the first section of the map. They can pass the escort payload under the overpass, but the Huskies, they're playing very aggressively, and we're about to see what that aggression will mean in this upcoming first fight.
Yeah, and that upcoming first fight is going to come into play right now as we see this initial breakout coming out. Stevex set in the background a little bit here off to a corner, hoping to find somebody, but actually looks away at the wrong time there as most of the Knights managed to just whiz by, of course, with that Genji dash, and along with the Tracer blinks, they are just going to be able to clean through it here. Not enough, I'd say not enough aggression coming out from Walmart there when they all pushed in. A few hammer swings there could have very quickly taken out Tracer, unfortunately for them. C. James now left to their own devices here, as they are going to be caught out all by themselves, trying to get back to their team desperately as they can. Lost in a store. I almost thought they said lost in a stone. Lost in a store there. Coming in around the corner is going to fall as well, unfortunately, bringing us down to a 4v6 in this upcoming fight.
Yeah, exactly. The all the DPS, such as like Soul Consumer and AK, they just kind of just rushed and isolated the only healer Sonnet that the Huskies had, and right now they're just able to cut off all healing that the Huskies had for that one fight and just tore through them immediately, and has allowed them to push quite cleanly over to the first payload. So honestly, right now the Knights playing quite uncontested on the payload. We see that the Huskies are setting up like a 3-man defense up here on the high ground. I'm not very sure. Navik, you have any, you think that this will work very well?
I mean, at the moment, that's all the options that they've got. When we do see coming up, sneaking behind them, of course, AK Jacob there on that Tracer, going to be blinking around, zips out a Zooping, making sure he can deal out as much damage as in short of span of his kind of. Stevex does come out there, managing to dodge a lot of those bullets there. Unfortunately, does fall down just from the barrage of bullets coming up from that Bastion here. We see the Nano coming out on to Alex, but so unfortunately he just missed his rocket jump as the Nano got hit, but jumping in right behind him, completely trusted Soul Consumer. Alex is going to drop down there. Step X obviously going to be on that Bastion, like we were saying, the tank configuration coming out here, managing to find one pick on to a Blabitza's mech, along with finding Blabitza in that Gremlin Diva. So they're going to be able to push this forward, and to be honest, they're in a good little spot for their composition, but as they're going to be caught out here, we do see player after player getting picked off from the Huskies here, and they are just going to be able, the Knights are going to be able to clean up the fight fairly well. Unfortunately, they got plenty of picks, but just not the right ones for the situation.
Yeah, you saw that fight there. At the very beginning, it looked very good for the Huskies. That nano that was put on Alex was, you know, a bit of a waste because his jump was on cooldown, so he wasn't able to really capitalize on that damage, and he was taken out by C. James. Honestly, the Huskies were just holding very strongly. They also took out Blab, and just took out both tanks from the Knight side, and it was looking very good for them, but for whatever reason, they just started kind of just falling apart, and all the DPS on the Knight side was able to just hold together as they are right now, playing on the payload and also being aggressive towards the Huskies.
Yeah, and we hear a Dragon Blade coming out from Soul Consumer there as he manages to find Lost in a store along with Nyla Kyle falling to that time bomb there. Consumer also finding Steph X, and again, they're just going to be they're just building up these flanking ults, right? These kind of spammable ults. Tracer gets the ult so quickly that she's able to just throw the grenade out and clear out a priority target pretty much every single fight.
Exactly, yeah, and that opening that the Knights make up with AK just allowed them to jump right in, have Soul come in and just clean up the rest of the team. Though we do see the Bastion play coming out here, helping out, and a lot of ults showing up.
Yeah, that Diva Bomb being thrown out there onto that last point, along with the Transcendent being popped, making sure to be able to tank all of StephX's damage here as the Supercharger gets hit down as well. Now, StephX just needs to get into that turret form in time, but with the Nano Boost coming out, and we see a counter Transcendence coming out from Sonar there, going to be able to stop a lot of that boosted Winston Primal Rage coming out there. And you actually, if you look at the kill feed right now, they're getting a lot of picks. The tank configuration coming out at the end of the fight, probably not needed. In fact, it's not going to find anybody there, but better safe than sorry, I guess, in a lot of situations.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like the ult economy very much is so heavily in favor of the Huskies. AK is the only person on the server with an ult right now, and although that can provide a very good opening for the Knights so far this game have shown that they do need some ults to back up any other push that they make. So, though 2 kills with that pulse bomb, this might change right here, right now.
Yeah, they were going into this fight here, like you were saying, 2 kills with the pulse bomb. With Soul Consumer having that Dragon Blade up, he is going to be able to provide 3 very quick picks and push it to the end of the point there. That was a very good turnaround. And like I was saying, that Tracer ult is up every single fight practically. Always going to be able to find a priority target.
Exactly, yeah. The DPS of the Knights they're both players have been very effective at just building up their ults. They always have it at the right moment in time. In the beginning of that fight, Soul did not have his Dragon Blade up already. It was obviously on very high percentages, but he didn't, have it on deck. But just with AK's Pulse Bomb getting those 2 picks, he knew that was his opportunity to jump right in and you can just do some damage to build up that ult and pull it out to help out and just get those final kills, letting his team push in. But now this next match, honestly, I don't know. Do you think that we'll be seeing any changes from the composition of the Huskies here?
We already saw that the Huskies were running borderline. I wouldn't even say borderline goats, right? Because although it shared a lot of the similarities with them, the play style with Bastion and Orisa completely changes how that composition wants to be played. Yeah, and exactly. I think this is something that a lot of people don't really consider in a lot of time, is that you can play goats, but you can also play with a very similar setup and play it in a completely different manner. To me, that was more double shielded Bastion on defense, which I don't know if was the most effective choice for Junkertown, but it looks like we're going to be seeing something very similar coming out from both teams, with the exception of C. James running that Reaper just to deal with the Winston from Alex.
Exactly, yeah, that Reaper is going to be very critical, but right now we see that Walmart is actually the only tank on the Husky side, and while the US Stefix on Bastion probably going for an El Presidente on this payload, which is a valid strategy. We saw that earlier with the Connecticut teams. There's no real Orisa to back that up, and as we see in this first team fight, C. James did manage to take care of Alex at the very beginning, so we already see that Reaper coming into use for the Huskies.
Yeah, Reaper is going to be very, very, very efficient at dealing with a lot of the issues that we see coming, or a lot of the threats on the side of the Knights currently. So there, he does pick off Vengeance. We saw him picking off AK Jacob earlier, so he's just going to be able to push forward as much as he wants now with Reaper's healing changes that came up out a few patches ago. I mean, if the man sees a tank, he becomes a borderline tank with the amount of healing he receives per shot, and especially whilst a damage amplification coming out from Mercy here, Reaper becomes a very, very scary threat that can build a Death Blossom very, very quickly. Yeah,
very much. You can definitely see that the Huskies probably even actually start kind of doing it. Instead of a pharmacy, you just tie Mercy up with Reaper and just have him be damage boosted. Could be a very valid strategy right there with the intense healing from the damage could
Well, if
make
the
up for
Reaper
what
can
Mercy
force
does.
everybody to turn around and you have a Bastion just shooting them in the back whilst they all turn around to deal with the Reaper, then there's I mean, either one of two ways it's working out for you. But we do see both of the supports of the Knights getting, or the Huskies, sorry, getting caught out here as C. James is left to his own devices, trying to find a couple picks here. Almost manages to deal with AK Jacob, but AK Jacob is going to be able to clear it. But unfortunately for the Knights, nobody was watching that point, and it does get back caps.
Exactly, yeah. CJ really at that point was just trying to do some crowd control and just attract the attention of the Knights away from the payload so that the rest of his team can backcap. And honestly,
Absolutely.
that's a very strong underdog move right there. We saw it earlier today with the CT game in which the previous underdog was actually using that to their advantage and managed to get several caps here. Although it does seem that the Huskies are managing to pull that off to greater effect in this game right here.
Yeah, the Hawks earlier in the eastern region wasn't working too much, but it's very quickly here. We see the Nano Boost coming out along with that Dragon Blade. Going to be able to find Stefix. The Death Blossom, though, coming out behind them there, managing to find Seven Tails and AK Jacob. Although CJ there, that was so well timed, managing to counter the ultimates used by them there. And although it seems like they're losing the fight, they managed to get a couple good picks in the situation. So well played on both sides there, but the Knights do end up coming out on top.
That we'll definitely say. And yeah, I'll definitely say that that fight right there, even though the Huskies were showing their strength and actually getting some very solid picks, at the end of the day, it was the Knights that managed to actually get back up and take it to the point that we see right now. Walmart charge it in, and we'll probably see his team rush in to support him.
Yeah, and Walmart does rush in there, but his team isn't so much supporting him there as he does just practically getting taken down by himself by Vengeance, so the res does come out here. We have a Dragon Blade coming out from Soul Consumer as well, managing to find Sonar there. The rally coming out from Lost in a Store, getting a nice stun onto Jacob, forcing them to back out there, and the Fire Strike from Walmart coming borderline across the map from downtown, does find a connect with AK Jacob and pick him off as well, as they are going to be able to push this down. We see that hammer down coming out, and if he doesn't deal with 7,000 ton, which unfortunately he wasn't going to be able to there, the Transcendence comes out from Vengeance there, making sure that his teammates are well and alive for this next fight that's about to break out in this situation. There's a lot going on. You see Soul Consumer here trying to look for a flank along with Jacob whilst the rest of the team stays on that payload as much as they can. The support sitting back. We see a support on support fight going on here. The Knights managing to force them to back out as Vengeance does fall to Lost in the Store, though, who is still on the point, fighting Seven Tails now, with Blablitzer staying at a distance there. Interesting choice due to being at full HP instead of jumping enough as a support to try and assist. Walmart fall into Soul Consumer and AK Jacob, and we're going to see the rest of the Knights here turning back around onto Lost into a Store and clearing this fight up.
Exactly, yeah. Lost in the Store really just trying to push it onto the cart and just do as much as they can, but it was just the Knights were able to get kills on everyone else so kind of sporadically that everybody else had to go in and wait for everyone else to show up, and really just prevented Lost in the Store from getting any actual backup here. And right now we see incredible
Blabitzer with a huge Diva Bomb there, managing to find Nyla, Kyle, C. James, and Stefix. That's absolutely huge. 3 people before the fight even began. That's going to make them use more time. It's going to force them to wait even longer here. With Walmart getting with Walmart falling now, completely staggers him out of this next fight.
Yeah, exactly. That really critical Diva Bomb just manages to totally tear through that offense. Yeah, obviously, we saw the Blab Blitzer saw that opportunity because the entirety of the Huskies were just in that one little corner right there, and being stuck in a choke with your entire team hiding behind, even to hiding behind the Reinhardt, isn't exactly the best position to be in. And right now, obviously, they're still trying to push in through that, and we see that the Knights are trying to capitalize on that and do as much damage as they can inside that little hallway.
Yeah, AK Jacob, they're coming in with a huge post bomb, completely counteracting what Stefix did. They actually traded if you looked at the kill feed. So that was a good 2-for-2 trade, making this next fight come in at a 4v4. Very interesting with 60 seconds left onto the clock. Both of the tanks up for the Huskies, but with 2 ults being popped here, Dragon Blade and Coalescence, it's going to be very, very easy for them to clean through it. But through some amount of magic at the moment, Nyla Kyle managing to survive through 3 Genji Blades here. Soul Consumer deciding to back off, regroup with the rest of his team, and continue this fight after he picks off Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. Even though they didn't, the Huskies managed to get, a 2-for-2 in that little choke, they're on offense. And any team with defense doesn't matter. They're always going to have the natural advantage because the enemy has to go to them. So right there, that wasn't enough of a enough kills to actually open up any sort of offense capabilities for that team. And right now you see that the defensive hold of the Knights have is really strong.
Yeah, it's a extremely good defense here. We see the Transcendence coming out from Vengeance here purely to help clear this out. Soul Consumer with another Dragon Blade. I believe that's his 4th Dragon Blade this game, and that is going to be map 1 going towards the Knight.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very good, well played on both sides. Actually, the Huskies were playing, being well coordinated, staying as a group, and they were, using their ults to a fair advantage. See James really just a star player right there, and actually just opening up so many opportunities for his team. But at the end of the day, the DPSs on the Knights were just insane. You see AK getting to play the game with his Pulse Bomb, just taking out 2 people and open up the room for Soul Consumer's Dragon Blade. Just absolute stellar play from the Knights. It was just absolutely amazing, Navik. I can't say. Can you say that you've seen such amazing DPS?
I mean, it worked extremely well from them there. We've seen them play with the Genji time and time again, and he just seems to clear through it. He gets so many Dragon Blades around. And like I said, I believe throughout that game, that was probably his 6th or 7th Dragon Blade.
Exactly, yeah, just on top of getting that DPS the entire time. And we can't just give full credit to Consumer as well. AK was doing a great job bringing up his ults, and really everyone else as well. Vengeance always had a Transcendence available for his team when he really needed it. Blitzer. Jeez, that's an alliteration right there. Some alliteration. He always, had that self-destruct on deck and just completely capitalizing on all the moments that the Huskies would group together into one little corner. You saw that in the second round right there, as I pointed out before. So yeah, and we do see that there is a switch out here. Blitzer is actually being traded out for Skippy, and do realize that we're playing. Our next map will be Busan, a control map. So while the Knights were already having like a very aggressive comp, and they already had like with a Winston and a D.Va, both very aggressive tanks, and being supported by very aggressive supports and DPS. They don't really have to change much about their control, but the Huskies, they definitely have to switch something up, especially to maybe deal with both flankers. And honestly, what do you think could be some nice?
I think we again they were very much so relying on that Bastion with Steph X doing a lot of damage in a lot of those situations. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
A lot of those situations, and of course, if that Stefix was dealt with, it became very, very difficult. You had Lost in the Store at one point defending like 4 people,
exactly,
by themselves trying to contest the point. So a lot of situations could occur. There's a lot of micro decisions to be made in these situations, and we'll have to see if the Huskies change it up enough. With, of course, Jacob getting switched out for Skippy. That's a DPS player switch, and I believe every time they've done this, they've played Goats, as I believe Skippy is a 3rd tank player.
Okay, that'll be very interesting to see, especially on control. Goats, very very effective at like holding down points and also just taking points. So, very versatile composition. We'll see if the Goats will be coming out for the Knights here in this next game as we enter Busan's hangar right here. Yeah, very interesting map, constantly changing cover around the points. And I have to say, exactly, it's also a very pretty map, you gotta admit, nice view of the ocean out here, wouldn't you say? And yeah, 8 seconds till we see the team comps showing up. I would definitely say that maybe switching out the Bastion, if the Huskies want to continue running the Bastion, which seems like they will be, Steffik's still playing Bastion, and we also see that Kyle will actually be picking up May, which is an interesting choice. This map does have a lot of tight corridors and several opportunities, especially in the close to spawn for use of May's ice wall. So that could be very interesting and really cool to see. Also, we do see that that the Knights will not be playing a Goats comp, and instead just have Skippy on DPS and take over for AK's things. Exactly.
Yeah, and of course, with that being the start of the round here, we're going to have some very, very fun. I mean, I don't know about you, Gorka, but this is one of my all-time favorite maps on Xan. And with the walls coming up and down, it gives a lot of positioning here, especially for things like Roadhog to come in with hooks and Reinhardt charges. A lot of sights and angles that switch about in a lot of these situations. And coming straight into here, we see a lot going on. We see Sonat falling pretty much immediately, with Nyla trying to look for a May freeze to try and give StefX something to do here, but with Soul Consumer jumping onto StefX there with that Tracer, going to be pushing out a lot of damage, forcing him out of the angle. The Hulk coming out there, but not being able to find a connection here, as Nyla manages to hold out this point for as long as he can with that May freeze. It is, however, going to be flipping over to the side of the Knights if they can't find anything in time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Knights were able to just pull back there. You saw that Kyle's ice walls allowed him to survive a little bit longer and helped out his teammates a bit, but in the end, the Knights were still able to get that. You know, you saw Alex there, right? They're doing a lot of damage and bringing it back, let's say. And Alex right there being picked up by Walmart, and you'll see him trying to be aggressive against the Huskies now.
Yeah, Blabitza here getting frozen out, but with Alex there to support him, Nyla isn't going to be able to find anybody, unfortunately. And again, the freezing coming out. He's trying to look for something here, trying to survive. He's doing an absolutely fantastic job at not falling there, managing to build up so much of the ult there in that one life, just by out-sustaining them with the freezes, waiting until they got low, healing up a bunch, and so on, so forth in that regard. StefX finding Alex as well. This might be the opportunity that the Huskies have been looking for. Tank configuration is up along with the whole hog, but StefX does fall, unfortunately, and they don't have a Mercy coming out for the res. They're going to be pushing on to the point here. A charge coming out does take out Vengeance along with the rally here, but C. James is just out of the circle, not getting the armor. Unfortunate position coming out there from Lost in the Storm, not being able to support his team, going a bit too aggressively, as we see this point again being fought over by Lost in the Storm, the one-man Brigitte army at the moment. The rally doing a lot of work there, making it very, very tanky. As we hear the May Blizzard coming out, it is going to hit I'm Alex, and we needed to hope there that Walmart didn't push Alex out, but unfortunately, that whole hog, bit of a miscommunication, not really working together. There, a double bomb coming out from Soul Consumer there. Sona and StefX are going to die here, and it's just down to C. James as the Knights do pretty definitively win that fight.
Yeah, exactly. Soul Consumer right there just pulling out the ults. Honestly, very nicely done by the Knights. They were able to dodge, for the most part, Kyle's Blizzard, and we already see that Skippy just pulled in a very nice longer angle, just preventing the Huskies from there. It might be a little too late, but no, it was too late. The Huskies were unable to get onto the point to secure overtime, and the Knights will be taking the first map. Honestly, that was well played by the Knights. I will say that, Navik.
Yeah, it was extremely well played by the Knights. They, like I said, pretty definitively won that last fight. I feel like the Huskies just need to take a breather, communicate with each other a bit more. You see Lost in the Store just diving in, and there's just no follow-up, and then a rally being used, and C. James and Walmart were trying to stay on point, and Lost in the Store just ran over and chased after Blabitza, which completely removed the rally from the two tanks that would have been receiving the healing to hopefully then collapse on them further in the fight.
Exactly, yeah, and right now, obviously, they're probably thinking about that, just trying to make sure that they reorganize themselves and get a better position. And we do see some comp change coming in. Lost in the Store going to Ash, and Kyle actually switching off May to be the third tank and the only shield tank of the Huskies. This will be very interesting. You think this will have major changes to the strategy of the Huskies in this?
I mean, they're making every micro decision they can in this situation, right? They're changing it up, trying to figure out what works here, and Walmart finding that first pick onto Skippy whilst they're on the point, along with the Ash. You do have a 7th member on the team now. You got to remember, Bob will eventually do something, or you should hope Bob does something. As the point now does become available, they're going to be contesting it 3/4 of the way. The Huskies might be able to find it for the first time here, and they are going to be able to start ticking up the percentile as Lost in the Store goes absolutely off, right? They switched Lost in the Store off of that that support role and stuck him on DPS, and look at that, pick after pick. Skippy's going to fall now. So maybe Lost in the Store should have been running that DPS the entire time.
Exactly, yeah. And Kyle now on Orisa allowing, some shield play right there. You saw that the main reason why Lost in the Store was able to get so many picks and just stay alive along with Walmart was because of that Orisa shield. It was so critical in that fight. And now you see StefX hiding behind there. Like, you got to say, that Orisa shield is incredibly versatile now. Like, it's absolutely amazing. Absolutely. Yeah, you see it right here, just being absolutely great for the defense of the Huskies.
Yeah, it's working absolutely phenomenally for these situations, but the Knights now are playing a bit more patiently, waiting to try and get a bit of information, figure out where everybody is, and the EMP coming out there from Soul Consumer is going to be able to find absolutely everybody here, as they're going to be able to just tear through it. You see James's Gremlin Diva there being the last to fall, and 50% for the Huskies, though, is extremely good. What we need to see now is Lost in a Storm not going into a 1v5 situation.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a bit of a intense rush from Lost in the Store. Not exactly his finest move. But yeah, we didn't mention it earlier, but Soul Consumer did switch over to Sombra the moment that he saw that the Huskies were playing with an Orisa. And that was a really smart play by the Knights. They knew what character was needed to counter this comp, and they did it well. That EMP was critical to taking down that defense. And now we see Bob.
And here we hear Bob doing something as Alex finds Lost in a Store, but Bob is already on. We see the sound barrier coming out from Seven Towers here. A lot of healing being able to come out and flanking up behind all of them. Nobody's paying attention to Alex and Soul Consumer in the background, though. The hack does get hit onto Walmart there, so we're not going to see the old Roadhog drinking his sippy, as they manage to catch up to 50% on the point as well right now, forcing them back. We see the whole hog, though, coming out from Walmart now. Might be able to push somebody into a corner, which he is able to. Finds Blitz's make and Seven Tails, so that's 2 picks. The Supercharger hitting the ground here by Nyla there, but very quickly getting destroyed by Soul Consumer. Lost in a Store fighting the headshot there, managing to clear it out, and for once again, the Huskies have flipped the point back over.
Exactly. That was very well done by the Huskies. They really pushed in, especially on the back of Walmart's whole hog was incredibly important to actually, get to the point, get control. And it was a very precarious situation at the very beginning of that fight. You saw Soul Consumer and Alex just standing in the back line and doing some damage, but that didn't really. C. James was able to keep up with the healing and not let any of his teammates die there. And now we see once again Stefix in his little corner with the Orisa shield. A very nice little comfy corner, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. But the thing about nice little comfy corners is that when that Soul Consumer is on that Sombra, he's going to hack you. And we hear pretty much every ult in the game being popped out, what it feels like. The Visor there doing great work as they flip the point back over 86 to 66. So a 20-point difference at the moment. But by the time they get back, we should be seeing it at roughly even grounds.
Yeah, we saw about 3 ults used in that push. Souls, Skippies, and Blitzers. All of those 3 ults to use, and even then you still see that the Knights have 2 ults available, the Transcendence and Primal Rage, while you look over to the Huskies side, they got nothing. So it really is a precarious situation for the Huskies, and they got to really rush it now, because at 89%, the Knights are on the way to win this first match.
Yeah, Nyla here getting hacked as well is going to be very, very unfortunate. No Orisa shields being available if they fall before this fight even starts is going to be so unfortunate, as the tank configuration comes out by Stefix there, but completely negated by Transcendence from Vengeance, forcing them off of the point pretty much. It comes down to Walmart, gets a nice hook onto Blabitza there, but it isn't going to work out for him, unfortunately, and that is going to be Busan going towards the Knights.
Exactly, yeah, very well played by the Knights. They just managed their ult economy and just managed to get more ults in general, and that was really key for their victory in this game. Soul Consumer stealing the play of the game right here. It's that initial. This is the second EMP that let the Knights take the point for the last time. Very well played by Soul Consumer. You see that the Knights are adapting to play styles, because while the Huskies, that Orisa shield that was coming out was very good. The Knights were able to respond with a Sombra and just totally negate and counter that strategy. So very well played by them, Navik. I will say that.
Yeah, it worked out extremely well in a lot of those situations. And like I said, Sombra is a very interesting pick in a lot of cases, because when it does work, it works really well, but it always feels risky.
Exactly, yeah. She's a very, she's not exactly, a very buffy character, and when she gets caught out, she's just done. She has, her teleporter, but aside from that, if she doesn't have that deployed...
It's on a very low cooldown. It's more just, if you don't hit consistent big EMPs, then there's much more effective ults to be using.
Yeah, that's true. It can also become a burden on the team as well. So it's a risky play to pull out the Sombra, but Soul was able to make it work, and we see that Bits is actually coming out and being switched out for AK, who's back in the server right now. I'll be interested to see what the Knights do with him in the next game, which will be on Volskaya right there, the assault map of today's game. So, a lot of control point play, and as we've seen from the previous map on Busan, the Huskies can play around a control point very well. And
Yeah, they
really good
100% can. And like you were saying, there's just so many. Volskaya is one of those maps, right, where you steamroll or you kind of hit a choke and struggle to get through it. So
Exactly, yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see how both teams react to a lot of the decisions being made here. And I'm sure that we're going to see the Knights playing very, very aggressively on attack and just trying to get. I mean, obviously, you want as much time bank as you can, but I would not be surprised to seeing them play a dive comp, especially with them switching out Blitzer for AK Jacob this time around and keeping Skippy.
Yeah, exactly. That would be very interesting to see right here. And as you were saying earlier about the whole, if you either steamroll on this map or you get stuck at a, a total brick wall, I think that is really a lot of cause because this map is filled with little nooks and crannies, especially the first point, in which both defensive and offensive players can just stay in little corners and take weird little flank routes all around the map. So whichever team can manage to control or have better control over these weird routes and better control of the map have better control of the game and will be more likely to be winning right now. And we see the comps coming out. Huskies sticking to a very similar style. They're actually being out Sombra in the beginning of the game with Kyle on Sombra. It'll be interesting to see. They are on offense, so definitely a flanker just to focus on the back line of the defense. One support though, see James on Mercy, so they'll have to be soul healing. And if we look at the very curious case on the Knights, you see two tanks and Skippy playing Ponzo, so no real dive yet, although expected for it to be to the defense.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Stefex finding that first pick onto AK Jacob there, going to be very, very useful there. He was playing slightly aggressively, looking to try and get some good boops, but not going to be able to find anything with those concussion mines, unfortunately, as they do push forward here. But Skippy retorting there. Lost in a Store does fall. We see Walmart pushing fairly aggressively, but not actually being able to, not deciding, maybe not. Maybe I want to wait for the rest of my team in this situation. Stefex set up in an absolutely lovely position as he's going to be able to push damage after damage here once they deal with Skippy. But if nobody actually deals with Skippy, we're going to see Stefex getting very, very low and have to retort back, or retreat back into the garage.
Exactly, yeah. The whole Huskies are really stuck in that one garage, and when you're playing against a Junkrat, such as AK is playing right now, that garage is just an absolute just slaughterhouse. It's very difficult and to get out of there, and with those grenades being lobbed in, you're gonna have a bad time. I really see that.
You're definitely going to have a bad time, especially when Batiste started coming in the next couple of weeks here. So Consumer there, managing to find Lost in the Store and Anilo with the rest of his team, forcing pretty much a full reset to come out from the Huskies.
Exactly. This is going to be very tough for the Huskies to get in because while they actually don't have any ults, I would say. There's 3 ults on the Knight side and 0 on the Husky side, so they have to make a dry push here just to build up their ults first before they can actually get anywhere, forward. And this is going to be very tough right here. They're just already trying to push in without any ults.
Yeah, Nyla making an interesting choice there to translocate straight into everybody on the side of the Knights with absolutely no ultimate, not even like close. You're about 50% with AK Jacob there, hitting that rip tire, finding Walmart and Sonar again, forcing them to retreat back, making sure Stefex doesn't die, and the tank configuration coming out just as he falls, but he gets one shot off and it actually kills Jacob.
Oh my god, that is definitely gotta be heartbreaking for the Huskies right there, because that was one of the 2 ults that they have. Walmart's at 24%, Lost in the Store is at 83, but just died. Sonar also doesn't have any ult charge, very little ult charge. So losing that one ult in the beginning of the fight before any really solid pushes, especially 1 minute and 30 seconds into the round, well, with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, it's gonna be very deliberate, very weakening.
Yeah, so, the charge coming out here is going to connect with Alex, but a Graviton Surge sent back out with the Dragons here is going to be able to find 3 picks in total. The Graviton Surge actually being the thing to kill C. James as well. You don't see that very frequently. Graviton does a very small amount of damage.
Yeah, exactly, but Steve X was already, C. James was already at such a low health that, had enough damage. And right there, we really saw Kyle wasting his ult, trying to do some sort of damage to the Knights, but EMP doesn't do much damage in the first place. So, and he had no team to back it up, so it was kind of a bit of a waste right there, I would say. And yeah, we just see Lost in Storage rush in and just get insta kills. It's a bit odd, Navik, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a nice little insta-kill coming out from Stippy there. Actually, with the sonar arrow, so I don't really think there was any intent to actually find a pick, just looking for information. Came
Yeah.
around the corner at the wrong time.
We see a Torbjorn coming out for the Huskies. Kyle trying to do something with that, but the turret not really surviving for very long. And yeah, we see C-James trying to go for a revive, but none of these strats that the Huskies are pulling out seem to be working right now, as the Knights just spawn camp them.
Yeah, Bob coming out there, but the Transcendence is just going to be thrown out. Alex could just put down his shield and just charge Bob off of the map for fun at this point. 5 seconds left onto the clock. They said they just cannot, they have no characters that would get there in the time, and that is going to be a fairly decisive and well-executed defense coming out from the Knight.
Exactly. The Knights were able to just completely halt all aggression, not just at the archway, but at like the main, memorial building in front of spawn. So they were playing hyper aggressively, and they had full control of the entire map. Very well played by the Knights. They were doing a phenomenal job. The Huskies there, I mean, I don't know. They tried some stuff. They definitely pull out the Sombra to do some back capping to take some attention away. That was a good idea, Navik, but like it didn't quite work out there, and the Knights were just so well coordinated. They could just take out that Sombra and deal with them immediately and not really do anything. Now, of course, the question is, had Kyle actually played something else other than Sombra in the beginning, do you think that they would have been able to actually, make a change? Maybe having more DPS up front would have actually helped out the Huskies, do you think?
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, like you were saying, just throwing out certain things in certain situations, and the Graviton specifically that came out from Soul Consumer when he saw Alex getting pinned and completely split Walmart away from the rest of his team, worked out so well that it just shows how considerate at least Soul Consumer was in that situation and how aware he was of the positioning of the Huskies.
Yeah, exactly. It was very well played by Soul Consumer. He had just great game sense, and just using those Graviton surges, he was able to just separate everyone. And was just doing a great job with those ults, and as with everyone else on the Knights, they've all been doing a very great job. Now on offense, we'll see how if they'll be able to push off. Kyle already up there with Maywall to block them off, but that doesn't really do much since they've already gotten around it and are going to be pushing in. They only need a third of the point, and it does seem that with Skippy on Symmetra, the Knights will actually be teleporting around.
Oh no! AK Jacob, they're walking backwards, unfortunately. A little bit nervous about the strategy, apparently, as we do see for the second time today, people using that Symmetra teleporter to just get onto it and quickly backcap it, completely negating the choke in a lot of situations here, as StephX manages to find the pick onto Seven Tails, who's all by themselves, leaving Alex to try and fend for himself with a Mei. The bubble coming out from Soul Consumer there, though. The cleansing effect on bubble is something people forget about a lot, and it did manage to completely stop Alex from getting frozen there, let him reset up with the rest of his team as the Mei will, when the slow ended, Mei actually misplaced her wall, and we're just going to see the Knights rushing through like this. And again, I don't think anybody can get back in time to defend, and that's going to be map 3 going towards the Knights.
Exactly, the Knights starting off with a very solid push, the second time we saw it today, of course, and it was just very well done, and they were able to push in. Sadly, it was AK, or was it Skippy? Yeah, no, it was Skippy that fell off and actually didn't manage to, no, sorry, AK, who fell off and sadly walked backwards into the pit. But yeah, we see here that amazing Graviton surge from Soul Consumer, and also the denial of the EMP being the play of the game. But yeah, all in all, the Knights were just completely being hyper aggressive and playing very well. You saw that a lot, where they would be just going into fights and just taking names and doing a great job. Exactly, Navik.
Yeah, 100%. And going into this fourth map, what do you think we're expected to see, Gorka?
Yeah, the next map is going to be Numbani, which is, a map with a lot of longer sight lines. And once again, being a hybrid, starts off with a control point and ends with an escort. So it was, so this will be a very interesting game to see here. It has a lot of longer sight ranges, and we've seen that the Knights have a lot of players who are very good at longer ranges. Skippy, when they were playing on Busan, was playing Soldier, and he was playing like a lot farther back, and able to still get those kills, just push back. So this is gonna be a very tricky game for the Huskies. As for comp changes, I would definitely believe that maybe something, if they can close the gap between them and the Knights, though the Knights might do that for them. So it is it's a lot to be left open, and it's a lot of options that the Huskies have for Navic.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, the coordination coming out from both teams, the Huskies just need to work on it a little bit more. We see some people being way too aggressive when the rest of the team just isn't ready for it. And that is definitely showing a breakdown of communication on the side of the Huskies.
Exactly, yeah. And if the Huskies can like start definitely working on that communication, just push together more and save together a lot more, they can definitely withstand a lot of the aggression from the Knights, which isn't a new thing. They've done this before. I saw there were several moments in Busan when C. James was playing as Mercy. He was able to out heal a lot of the damage and just keep his teammates alive as long as they were next to him, while the Knights' aggression was just beating on them. So they can make this work, and this can go very well. But it's just a matter of staying together and making sure that their team is playing around each other and playing off of each other, not being too isolated or getting isolated by the Knights here, Navic.
Yeah. And again, getting isolated by the Knights is probably the worst thing that you want. You need to be staying grouped up, like you were saying, and just making sure that you're playing as a team.
Exactly. Very interesting strategy we see coming out of the Knights right here. Soul Consumers playing on Torbjorn, and while I can understand that they're probably going to try going for an El Presidente with Bastion and Torbjorn on the payload, they still have to cap the first point though. So I don't know. Playing with a single tank does seem quite like a very risky move. And as we see on the Huskies, we're seeing that they're playing with just a pretty standard 2-2-2, just trying to get a setup here on the point. Having the Stefix on Bastion, taking full advantage of those longer sight lines. This will be an interesting match to see, especially I want to see how they use this. Soul Consumer uses this Torbjorn in the very beginning of the match.
Yeah, Soul Consumer has been known to play a mean Torbjorn every once in a while, so hopefully we should be seeing this little dwarven man being able to consume some souls. We see C. James here being revealed by that sonar arrow from Vengeance there. Vengeance already up to 14%. The turret being destroyed pretty much immediately. Who would have thought Bastion does a lot more damage than Torbjorn's turret? And coming out here, AK Jacob here finding Walmart as well. So both teams with that Bastion is going to be very, very interesting because I feel like it's whichever Bastion shoots the other Bastion first wins. And right now, that's Stefix just raining down bullets, but with the rest of the Knights just deciding, you know what? No, we'll all shoot you. Stefix does fall before they are able to find Jacob.
Quite humorous that Kyle decides to just jump back into the game and res solely Stefix right in front of the view of the rest of the Knights. So now they know that there's obviously a Bastion up there, but it doesn't seem like Stefix is moving around very much, and the Knights will be able to push this cart quite uncontested right here with both a Torbjorn turret and a Bastion on it, along with a Rhine shield. This seems like a very, very strong death ball just rolling across the map. And if I were the Huskies, I'd be shaking in my boots right now, Navik. Let me tell you that. I would not be happy to face this now.
It's more like a slow, menacing truck driving towards you. I feel more like
exactly,
less than a goat's death ball. But yeah, I'd definitely be a little bit concerned here, especially when you have Torbjorn just charging at you, spraying and playing, swinging that hammer about with his molten armor, and he does, of course, now have his molten core, which is going to let them going to let them hold so many different choke points and just run it along if they try and push it onto the point. Nice little clear as well with them managing to capture this. See, James is going to go, you know what? I was thinking about jumping down there, but maybe not.
Better not. Yeah, exactly. It's a very menacing payload. Moving slowly though, kind of like a hand activated rail card that has to be pulled with the levers, kind of just slowly coming towards you. Anyways, we see that both Bastion and Torbjorn's turret have been pushed off the point, but AK was able to use tank configuration to get 3 kills at the spawn of the Huskies. Sorry. So this is already at the 3rd point. We're seeing that the Knights are almost about to close out the first round. Very nice Dragon Strike coming out. Well, not very nice. It kind of went through the main point, but the Huskies here for a last push.
Round 1.
Yeah, round 1, exactly. That last push from the Huskies. Yeah.
very effectively. I don't think they were really halted once in that entire round.
Yeah, it was just a constant push through the entire map, honestly. They had very good control of the payload and did a phenomenal job just not letting the Huskies get anywhere near it. But even then, as I was watching them push along, it didn't really feel like the Huskies were making any massive offenses, full team offenses against the payload. It kind of just felt like they were slowly kind of trickling in, checking it out, and they kind of just set up their defense to be on that last point. They kind of gave up the second point. So hopefully they won't be as, laid back in this next match, and we'll see that they'll be a bit more aggressive trying to get the first point here. Because they're going to have to push the cart all the way and hopefully make it around the same time as the Knights here to just get a chance at the third round.
Yeah, no, getting a chance at this third round is going to be all they're hoping for at the moment because, again, this is the last map. There's no possibility of a tiebreaker, and getting it into round 3 is the most important thing for the Huskies now to get that oh-so-important scoreline point. Like we were talking about, very similar mimic to the earlier game in the Eastern region. It did come down to an 0-3. Good push coming out from the top team at that point as well, and the underdogs were just hoping to try and get that third point. Didn't work out then, but you know what? I think most of the audience loves a good underdog story. So if they can take one map in this situation, I mean, I'm always going to be happy with that.
Exactly. Yeah, just spice it up a little bit. Show a bit more teeth right here. You get it. You're not gonna exactly get this match, but just one more map for honor's sake. And we see that coming in as the Huskies are playing a very aggressive offense right here, but the Knights trying to counter with a back cap. Sorry. Other way around. The Huskies trying to go with a back cap while the Knights play very aggressive defense.
Yeah, and again, the Knights are here going to play, like you were saying, super, super aggressive, very pushed up. But the thing is, this is how we used to hold Numbani Season 1. We'd push up all the way to the bus. It wasn't the most effective thing to do, but if you were able to just completely shut down a team in those situations, it was very, very hard for them to deal with. So it's a very high risk, high reward situation, because if you fall, they're just going to be able to rush onto that point because you are putting yourself in the choke. However, if you don't, then you have a pretty ironclad defense for quite some while.
Yeah, exactly. That was, and it does seem like for the Knights, this strategy is working very well. They're still holding up right by the bus. Stavix is charging in, but not be able to do very much. And you see right here that this hyper-aggressive defense is working wonderfully for the Knights, and they're dealing with any backcappers very effectively right here, as you see with Kyle trying to backcap as Symmetra, but not quite working.
Yeah, and of course the hook coming out from Soul Consumer. They're finding Lost in the Store just after Lost in the Store managed to find Gremlin Vengeance, and they are going to be able to push this in. C. James making some big plays there, finding a lot of damage, does get whole hogs, but of course that Wraith form is going to be proved to be very, very effective. Unfortunately, it's not going to be as effective enough as the turbocharger here comes out from Walmart. Sonar making good use of that along with the Discord. You're going to be seeing Soul Consumer taking so much damage. Turbocharger plus Discord is what, an extra like 60% damage?
About so, yeah. It's gonna be a lot of damage to be dealing right now, and while that's really helping out the Knights team right here with their defense, and they've managed to pull it back and take full control of the point right here. It was a very solid offense that the Huskies were pulling on there, but right now the teams did get kind of staggered, and now they're just waiting for everybody else to spawn back in. Very precarious situation that the Huskies are in right now. Just a minute and 30 left to take this first point and then push the card all the way down. It'll be very tough for them to navigate.
It was a very, very valiant effort. It was a very valiant effort for the Huskies in that situation there. We do see the Knights holding steadfast and managing to bring it back, and Soul Consumer switching over to that Widow is finding pick after pick currently, and nobody's contesting him on that high ground. We should be seeing C. James trying to look for something, maybe try and get a TP whilst he's distracted. Unfortunately, that's not happening. 60 seconds left onto the clock here. The Death Blossom, the desperate Death Blossom coming out there, unfortunately. Not finding anyone. Soul Consumer getting another pick as he spots Walmart here. The infravision, the infrared there coming out. A lot of Symmetra coming out, slowing Stefix along with the bomb. If that Orisa shield runs out at the wrong time, which unfortunately for the Huskies, it does survive. I believe that had A few more seconds left on it. That was very concerning here. As poor Symmetra here, Nyla TP's in, doesn't see AK Jacob, but just gets chased down with a hammer. The Earth Shatter coming down, unfortunately, does get wasted, but very positively for the Huskies. There's borderline... there's very little of the Knights on the point currently. 3 of them left, 2 of them right now, and Reaper's exactly what you needed to deal with some of those targets. The Transcendence coming out from Sonar may be exactly what they need to turn this around. 7 seconds left onto the point. We do see Soul Consumer here back up on that high ground, going to be getting picked. And yeah, he
Only
finds
someone can stop Soul Consumer at this point. Jeez, they really
Soul
need that
Consumer
right now.
Absolutely going off in these situations here. We see Bob coming out though, and Bob might be able to do something if AKJ. Oh, well, AKJ is just going to quite happily stand there and tank all of the bullets. As the Symmetra turret comes out here, they could reposition and just hold that point, not needing to worry about it. But Bob is going to fall, and that is going to be map 4 going towards the Knights.
Exactly, yeah. The Knights right there just holding on for dear life onto that one point. Playing very well, just doing the damage and just having those DPS that were just laying the hits. And you saw Soul Consumer just getting headshot after headshot. And geez, if only the Huskies had done anything to really stop the man. He was going crazy right there. And really that just let the Knights really take full control of that point and take the map. And the match right here, ending the game with a 4-0 sweep. Very nicely played by the Knights.
Yeah, 100%. The Knights played that so well. The Huskies, again, I hope they look at this VOD. They listen to some of our critiques, some of our what we noticed and things. Communicate, improve for next week because, again, you always have more games the week after. You can practice, improve, and that's about it, really. I'd like to thank you all, of course, for tuning into the AK region of Season 3 of EGFH with, of course, the Centerville High Knight. Oh, no, the Colony. Sorry, the Colony Knights taking the victory. You can follow us at OfficiallyGF on Twitter and Twitch for updates and announcements. And I, again, would like to thank our wonderful sponsors, Mob Crush and Playmakers Wanted, for helping make this season possible. My name has been Kevin Navik-Dignan. You can find me on Twitter at NavicCasts.
And I'm Gorka, and you can find me at Gorka_man. And thank you so much for joining us this fine evening for some great Overwatch, and we'll see you next week. Have a nice night.